The first phone call I got from my grandpa changed everything. His voice shook through the receiver, low and cracking with fear. "They're trying to throw me out. Son, the HOA is here with papers." I froze. My grandpa wasn't just my grandfather Ray, he was my hero, the man who practically raised me after my parents passed away. He was a veteran, a man of discipline and quiet strength, but in that moment, he sounded like a broken soul. And all because a bunch of power-hungry HOA board members thought they could bully an old man while I was away on duty. You see, I work in law enforcement. I won't say exactly which department, but let's just say when things go south in this county, my phone rings first. The irony wasn't lost on me that the very people trying to push my grandfather out of his home had no idea they were poking a hornet's nest, because the cops they were calling for backup, they all worked for me. It started a few months before. My grandpa had lived in that house for over 30 years. It was modest, with peeling white paint, a squeaky gate, and his pride and joy, a vegetable garden out back that he tended every single morning. But lately, the HOA had been hounding him with complaints. "Your grass is too long. Your fence doesn't meet new code. Your truck isn't approved for driveway parking." Little things, petty things. At first, he brushed them off. But then came the letters, the fines, and eventually, the threats. They waited until I left town on an assignment before they made their move. Cowards. They came with documents, claiming he was in violation of so many rules that they had the authority to evict him. They thought they'd scare him into submission. But my grandfather wasn't one to back down. He told them he wasn't leaving the home he'd built with his own hands. That's when they told him the sheriff would be called to escort him off the property. What they didn't know was that I had already been briefed about these HOA clowns. I had heard whispers around town, stories of them targeting elderly homeowners and forcing them out so they could resell the properties for a profit. They'd used intimidation, bogus violations, and even shady contractors to corner people. But they had never come after my family. Until now. I cut my assignment short and drove straight home. When I pulled into the neighborhood, I saw them, three HOA board members standing smugly on my grandpa's porch, waving papers in his face while two confused patrol officers stood nearby. My grandpa looked tired, his hands trembling as he tried to defend himself. I parked, stepped out of my truck, and every head turned. "Problem here?" I asked, my voice calm but sharp. One of the board members, a slick-looking guy in a suit, sneered. "This doesn't concern you. Your grandfather is being evicted per HOA rules." "Officers, please remove him." The two officers looked at me, then back at the man. They didn't move. Because they knew me. They knew who I was. I pulled out my badge, letting the sunlight catch it just right. "These officers work for me," I said slowly, locking eyes with the smug suit. "And you're standing on private property without legal grounds. That's trespassing." The man's smirk vanished. The other two board members shifted nervously. My grandpa, God bless him, let out a little chuckle at the first time he'd smiled all day. I took the papers from the board member's hand, glanced over them, and shook my head. "These aren't eviction papers. These are notices of fines. You don't have the authority to evict anyone. You've been intimidating a veteran, a homeowner, and my family. That ends today." I turned to the officers. "Document this. I want a full report of HOA harassment and trespassing." "We're opening an investigation into their board practices." The color drained from their faces. One of them tried to protest, sputtering about HOA rights and community standards, but I cut him off. "You want to play legal games? Fine. Let's play. I've already got a file on your little operation, forcing retirees out of their homes, flipping properties for profit. You think no one noticed? You just made the mistake of going after the wrong family." Word spread fast. Within a week, investigators were crawling all over the HOA's records. Turns out, my suspicions were dead on. They'd been extorting dozens of homeowners, issuing bogus fines, and pocketing money. Several board members were charged with fraud and embezzlement. Their little empire crumbled overnight. As for my grandpa, he stayed right where he belonged, in the home he'd built, in the garden he loved, sipping sweet tea on his porch without fear of another knock on the door. He told me later that he thought about giving up when they first came after him, but hearing me stand up for him lit a fire back in his heart. "You reminded me I'm not alone," he said. gripping my hand with surprising strength. And that's the truth of it. Bullies say whether they wear a school uniform, a business suit, or sit on an HOA board, they thrive on fear and isolation. But when you stand up to them, when you shine a light on their corruption, they crumble. The whole thought they could break an old man. Instead, they exposed themselves for what they truly were. And my grandpa, he taught me once again that home isn't just four walls. It's family, it's history, and it's the memories you fight to protect.